Hellfire strikes Russia. Ukraine's revenge has begun, and it will not stop. Explosions tear the night sky to shreds as firestorms erupt across the Russians' heartland. Red flares pen the clouds while panic floods the Kremlin. Commanders scream, sirens wail, and columns of smoke mark the fall of once untouchable targets. Putin's empire is cracking under a new onslaught of merciless drone swarms and surgical missiles. Power stations are collapsing, refineries ignite into towering infernos, cities stagger into darkness, and whole regions convulse in chaos. The official lines of calm are lies. The truth is raw and brutal. Ukraine's cutting-edge weapons are punching straight into the enemy's core. New interceptors and kamikaze systems leave nothing but ash. Precision strikes shred logistics and black out entire districts. Allies stand ready, arsenals thunder toward Kyiv, and the pressure on Moscow is crushing. This is the Great Reckoning, relentless, uncompromising, historic. Escape routes are burning, the occupiers' morale is collapsing. The final chapter is being written in fire. The moment Russia's power begins to unravel is over here. Let's talk about it. Hello, this is Ukraine Today. I'm Maria Farafonova, and here are the latest news. Russians had a restless night, their sleep shattered by dozens of drones and missiles. Residents from distant regions across Russia reported hearing powerful explosions echoing through the darkness. At first, reports came in that airports in Kaluga, Krasnodar, Pskov, Yaroslavl, Leningrad Oblast, and Penza were closed. Soon after, temporary restrictions were also imposed at the airports of Vladikavkaz, Grozny, and Makhachkala. The Bryansk region also came under attack. Reports mention a fire at a local power substation, and sources indicate that Storm Shadow missiles struck the Bryansk chemical plant.
A massive combined missile and airstrike was carried out, including the use of air-launched Storm Shadow missiles, which successfully penetrated the Russian air defense system. The Bryansk chemical plant is a key facility of the aggressor state's military-industrial complex. The plant produces gunpowder, explosives, and rocket fuel components used in ammunition and missiles employed by the enemy to shell the territory of Ukraine.
Several Telegram channels report that a local electrical substation in the city of Trubchevsk was hit, reportedly by drones. In Ukrainian media, people joked that Russian operators are already on site, implying the occupiers were busy filming the aftermath themselves. Later, residents of Saransk reported hearing powerful explosions. The strike was so intense that even local authorities couldn't fully conceal the aftermath.
There are currently no reports of fatalities or injuries. Damage information is being verified. Response services are working at the scene, and all government bodies are operating in emergency headquarters mode. All necessary measures are being taken to ensure the safety of citizens and facilities.
The Saransk mechanical plant, which manufactures explosive materials, sustained damage. The enterprise is part of the state corporation Rostag and produces equipment and components for various industrial sectors, primarily mechanical engineering and, to some extent, the defense industry. According to open-source data, the plant manufactures mechanical assemblies, components, and spare parts, including items for transport and specialized vehicles.
The city is home to the optic fiber systems plant, which has been attacked before. A few kilometers away are the Saransk mechanical plant and the Saransk Optica plant.
Unidentified drones also struck the capital of Dagestan, the city of Makhachkala. The head of the republic, Sergei Malikov, confirmed that the target of the attack was one of the local industrial facilities. Online sources suggest that the strike may have hit the city's oil refinery. Earlier, Russians reported a drone attack in Rostov region. Explosions were heard north of Rostov, from Shaltyr to Novocherkassk, and residents said something exploded loudly over central Bataysk. Local Telegram channels claim there is damage in the city. Russians must prepare for shock scenarios. Even Moscow could be plunged into darkness. Retired colonel and flight instructor Roman Svitan warns that while wiping out all of Russia's energy infrastructure is unrealistic, a handful of critical weak points exist. Hit those, and the nation's systems could collapse, bringing transport, industry, and governance to a grinding halt.
It's important to note that peak electricity flows run from east to west through specific substations. If those are taken out, and the Ukrainian defense forces have already begun targeting them, then the transfer of power will become impossible.
This is hellish revenge indeed. More and more factories across Russia are shutting down. Everything is burning, gasoline is running out, and there's no power at all. While the authorities, as always, lie that everything is calm and going according to plan. How many more explosions will it take for this mask to be ripped off the Kremlin's face? All the details in our next report.
What is that?
Mom! Mom!
It was a restless night in Bataysk Rostov region. Even there, the friendly drones arrived on the night of October 21st. Oh,
Damn, I was so scared that it would come to us.
it is reported that Bataysk is a major railway and sorting hub. But what's also interesting is that Russians themselves are now suggesting where Ukrainian drones should fly. Guys, not here. You need to hit the Kremlin. You got the coordinates wrong. Meanwhile, the largest Orenburg gas processing plant and Novokubishevsk oil refinery completely halted operations after the Ukrainian drone attack. Although in Russia itself, they say something different.
In Orenburg, it's a classic case. The Russian Ministry of Emergency Situations denied there was a fire at the gas plant, but immediately sent firefighters there to put out the blaze. Of course, in Russia, the truth has long been forbidden. When everything is burning, but the reports say everything is calm.
And the plants probably won't be up and running again anytime soon. After all, according to reports, restoration work won't begin until at least the start of November.
So what is the main objective? To paralyze as many energy facilities in the Russian Federation as possible to create an imbalance. For example, to take out as many facilities as possible in the central part of the Russian Federation, which is exactly what's happening now with all sorts of substations, so that facilities in other regions of the Russian Federation become overloaded and experience oversaturation.
13 occupiers eliminated. Special Operations Forces fighters infiltrated behind enemy lines and destroyed enemy positions. Meanwhile, Trump announced a new secret weapon.
There is a weapon that many people don't even know about, and I started working on it 4 years ago.
Of course, Trump couldn't help but emphasize the superiority of the United States over China, including in terms of military technology.
The United States has a lot of developments, a wide variety of weapons, and all sorts of projects that are at different stages of implementation. Some are already in the final stages, some are only halfway through, and some are just being planned on paper. But due to the economic superiority of the United States, once again, they have many different potential projects. Again, scale is an issue here. They can produce 1 or 2 prototypes and boast that they already have them. But here, the real question is about quantity.
Meanwhile, as Russian drones continue to violate European airspace, the German Chancellor announced the creation of a federal unit to combat drones and a center for UAV protection.
This is a good sign. It's a good sign that at least something is being done in Europe to counter the Russian threat, because no one knows what to do about Russian drones, but here at least some steps have been taken. How they will be implemented, when they will be implemented, how quickly, how effectively, remains to be seen, but in any case, it's a positive development. This shows that they understand, they recognize the threat, they realize that right now they don't have the resources.
Meanwhile, the French Foreign Ministry announced that Ukraine will receive a loan from the EU to purchase defense equipment for the next 3 years.
But let's be honest, Putin's presence on the territory of the European Union only makes sense if it leads to an immediate and unconditional ceasefire. Moreover, Vladimir Putin is interested in adopting the principle of an immediate ceasefire because time is working against him.
Plus, there's another country joining the Pearl program. Previously, Italy had refrained from participating, having its own reasons, but now the country's position has been reconsidered.
Perhaps when Italy first refused to participate in this program, they thought the project wouldn't take off, that it wasn't viable, that it wouldn't last, and that it was all just nonsense. But upon closer inspection, it turned out that it is taking off, it's being funded, interesting developments are emerging, and the countries participating in these projects are gaining access to technologies, sharing data with Ukraine, and it's quite possible that some kind of jealousy was at play in Italy.
Russia continues to strike peaceful Ukrainian cities. On the night of October 21st, 6 Russian glide bombs hit Kharkiv. 11 people are known to have been injured. In Kherson, 3 people were injured as a result of a drone attack. And after the drone attack, Chernihiv was left completely without electricity and water.
Every voice voice matters. Join our community, support independent journalism and help us bring you the truth from Ukraine. Become a member of Ukraine today. Join us now.
Meanwhile, the Iron Hunter is back on the job, staying a new nightmare for the enemy. This interceptor drone crashes into battle and leaves nothing but ash in its wake. Targets obliterated, no traces left behind. Observers watch its sorties in awe. Its effectiveness is staggering. 150 positions destroyed. The enemy is taking a crushing blow and is trying to pull its last units out. Here are the full details in our report right now.
At speeds exceeding 300 kilometers per hour. These are the movement parameters of the Ukrainian interceptor drone, Sting. The main goal of this little guy is to destroy Russian Shaheds, which the Kremlin is unleashing on Ukraine by the hundreds. Sting is a product entirely of the Ukrainian military industry. Its cost is about $2,500, which is several times cheaper than the Russian Shaheds. This is what makes this interceptor drone indispensable for Ukrainian air defense. Just a year ago, this method of shooting down Shaheds seemed impossible. Now, however, everything has changed dramatically.
What once seemed laughable has turned into an inexpensive and crucial element of Ukraine's defense. While Russia bombards its cities with increasingly powerful waves of explosive drones, Ukraine is more and more often using cheap interceptors to stop them. This weapon shot down 150 attack drones during a recent bombardment. Now Ukraine aims to produce 1,000 interceptors a day.
One of the world's leading news outlets, Business Insider, writes that interceptor drones like the Sting, which Ukraine is now actively producing, could turn the tide of the war because they cost much less than Shaheds.
There has always been and still is a search for cheap means to destroy the enemy's strike capabilities in the form of drones and missiles. And these interceptor drones, whose cost is actually approximately 10 times less than that of the strike drones used to attack civilian or military targets, have led to the scaling up of such solutions.
Since the beginning of 2024, Ukrainian drone engineers have been actively converting quadcopters into drones capable of destroying Shaheds.
The design of interceptor drones is rapidly evolving. For example, the Sting is equipped with a warhead that accelerates to 340 kilometers per hour using 4 rotating blades. This sensor-guided interceptor, produced by the Ukrainian drone manufacturer Wild Hornets, resembles a handheld rocket and is small enough to fit in a travel bag. Other interceptors look like small gliders. The crews responsible for launching them need to react instantly and decisively to any threats. The Sting pilot explained that his team typically heads out at night, often under the cover of darkness based on intelligence tips. They usually have only about 10 minutes to intercept and engage any approaching Russian drones before those drones move out of range.
The improvement of interceptor drones never stops, not even for a minute. Success rates vary from 30% for some interceptors to 80 or even 90%. Success depends on a large number of factors: the type of target, the timing of the interception, the pilot's skills, and many others. Interest in and demand for interceptors has surged sharply not only in Ukraine, but also among NATO countries after the first Russian drones crossed into Poland, especially since the Kremlin continues to invest huge amounts of money in the development and production of Shahed strike drones. Ukraine and NATO countries want to have an effective and, most importantly, inexpensive means of countering them.
We are currently negotiating with some pretty big, influential leaders in certain important sectors worldwide, companies that are interested in purchasing our drones. Some of the advanced technologies, for example, we have adopted from foreign partners we have worked with. We know they are integrated into our solution. And there is serious interest because we have the largest, unfortunately for us, but fortunately for the world, and for those who make weapons, the largest testing ground for military technologies in the world.
During one of the latest attacks on Ukraine, Russia launched almost 800 aerial targets. And according to Western intelligence estimates, the Kremlin may soon launch up to 2,000 Shaheds of various modifications. Moreover, the Shahed is being modernized in Russia, and in the future it may be able to reach speeds of up to 300 kilometers per hour. So the appearance of Ukrainian interceptor drones should simplify and make air defense operations more effective, especially since, from a financial standpoint, Ukrainian interceptors are cost-effective to use. And victory in war always comes down to economically sound decisions.
What do you think about the latest events? Share your opinion in the comments, like the video, and stay informed about the main headlines. More to come.